good evening and welcome to Front Row Racing. We're here tonight for round four of the, both the World Series and World Championship Reserves event. We're here in Sochi, Russia for this race. I'm Alex, though most of you will know me as Curly. I'll be your broadcaster tonight. And joining me in the commentary box this evening is my fellow World Championship driver, James. James, how are you tonight?
I'm fine, my friend. How are you today?
Yeah, I'm doing really well. Looking forward to this race. We've got a mixed lobby here tonight, so just due to the number of drivers, we've merged the World Championship Reserves and the World Series Reserves into one main reserves event for now. We do also have a couple of series and regular championship drivers in this lobby too, but we've merged them in together just to have a fuller lobby and hopefully some closer racing. James, do you want to take us through who is on the grid tonight?
I shall indeed, Alex. So in the Mercedes AMG Petronas, we've got a Fletcher Boy 77 and WC driver Temp here. It'll be interesting to see how Temp gets on with the WS and WSR drivers, actually, just to see how the assist compares with no assists and all that palaver that comes about with this game. In the Ferrari, we've got Anders HC as number one driver, and in the second seat, we've got Schumi 3 Garcia. I can't really comment on those two. I've heard of Schumi Garcia, but not as much with Anders, so it'll be interesting to see how those two get on. I believe they're both WSR drivers of the World Series Reserves or World Championship Reserve. Not too sure on that one. In the Red Bull, we've got Alan Munton and TG2155, which we've just learnt is Caribbean Crush's other account because he's just been hacked. So that's unfortunate for Caribbean Crush, but good to have him with him. Good to have him with us in the lobby this evening. In the Williams, we've got Drew in seat number one, and in seat number two, we've got Lance Stroll. He's got some very high competition today, Drew. In the Force India, we've got M. Doran and Esteban Ocon. In the Renault Sport, we've got the brothers in arms from Scotland. It's Conzo and Calzo carrying on their competition within that team. In the Toro Rosso, we've got Slimbo Dude and SBL Malik Ekek. So that'll be a good pairing tonight. Actually, we'll see how those two get on. In the Haas, you got IDB and old boy Formula One Luke. He's been going for a while. Good to see him back on the grid. In the McLaren Honda, you got Uzi, another Scotsman, and Danny Railton, the WCR driver. And in the Sauber, you've got Keifu and Pascal Wehrlein. So they're your drivers tonight, Alex, and hopefully there's some good pairings in there, actually, so I'm quite looking forward to seeing the inter-team rivalry. And I think the main point we're looking at tonight, if you ask me, is how the assists and no assists get on.
Yeah, so James, could I just get you to send an invite to Millstar just before we get started? He's just asked for an invite, and we've got a space here, yes, so we can get him in. And then once we've got Millstar in, we will ready up and send the drivers across to the grid. So yeah, I mean, a couple interesting pairings there. I mean, we've got SBL Malik Ekech and Slimbo Dude together tonight. They did the first two races of the World Series together, as Slimbo Dude was reserving for Valdemar. Really, really strong combo. They had some good races. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they get on. Also, in terms of the no assist drivers versus the assist drivers, I mean, it'll be interesting to see how the World Series and World Championship drivers compete against each other, as well as the World Series Reserves and World Championship Reserves drivers. So yeah, once we get Millstar in, then we'll get these guys across the track, because we are running a little bit late tonight. So apologies for that. We just had a couple issues setting up the lobby.
That's fine. Okay. Millstar. Okay, just finding Millstar. I've not actually got Millstar on my friends list. Have you got his name on your friends list?
Okay. So the screen will probably go blue, and then we'll get. Oh no, he's made his way into the lobby. I think someone else has invited him. All right, so let's click spectate, and we'll get these guys across to the track. James, Sochi, Russia. What's your opinions of it?
Well, I've just been doing a little bit of research before and we've come online, and well, It's a split opinion track, isn't it? Not many people enjoy it as a spectacle when watching it on real F1. It doesn't really draw up so many spectacular races in the past 4 years it's been with us. It's got the design of it's got the design to me as a good racetrack, but for some reason, every time we come to Russia, it doesn't plan out that way. We've had some good races in FRR, so by all means, it's completely different to real racing, obviously. But I don't know. In my opinion, I like it, but again, I think the opinion is split. What about you? What do you think, Alex? Do you think it'll be cause a good race tonight?
So personally, there are a few too many 90-degree corridors for my liking. I generally prefer the sort of high speed and flowing tracks. But yeah, I mean, this is a circuit where there's virtually no tire wear. I mean, you can do
No.
probably the whole race distance on a set of super soft compound tires. And I think that, well, that's interesting in terms of the pit strategy because realistically, these drivers could be boxing at any time, right? I mean, okay, your theoretical best race time might be to pit on lap 10 or 11 to go from ultra softs to super softs, but realistically, you can pit whenever and go for an undercut. So I think we might see a little bit of that tonight, particularly I think once we get into next week, we'll see drivers going for some aggressive undercuts. But yeah, in terms of that, it can be quite interesting. It can also be pretty difficult at this track to break the slipstream. Even on this game, okay, F1 2017, a lot has been made about the fact that there's much less slipstream than there was in previous F1 games. But even on this game, it still can be quite hard to get out of the to get out of the DRS range if the car is behind. So you quite often end up of races where everyone is in a fairly big train. It'll be interesting to see if that happens tonight. Although with some of the reserve drivers and then with having a couple of the championship and series drivers in as well, we may end up with some splits in the field.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think it will separate the WC WS against the WSR drivers, just with a bit more experience under the belt. But no, I agree with you that I think it will be a tight race. I think that personally, I think the game's slipstream is quite strong, and yeah, I think the DRS will come into it a lot. Maybe not on the back straight, but certainly on the start-finish straight. So it'll be interesting to see, especially with setups. Obviously, you're on about breaking the DRS protection. But if obviously that's difficult to do on this track, so if you're obviously going to be attacked constantly, you might as well go for a low downforce setup and you hopefully defend for your life just by out dragging whoever's behind.
Yeah, I mean this is interesting because this is a track where there are quite a few different things you can do in terms of setup. Some people might go for a low drag setup and really aim to defend on those straights, but at the same time, actually running higher wings here can be quite beneficial. There's a lot of time to gain through the corners, whether that's in Sector 2 or in Sector 3. You can really make up a lot of time on either drivers in front of you, or particularly in qualifying. Although one thing I will say is it's looking pretty dark and grey out here. I mean, it's not raining that I can see, but I mean, it's a possibility towards the end of the session. We don't know what the weather will be, as we don't have a third commentator tonight, so we're really in the dark for what's going to be happening here. But I can see that most of the drivers are out on a set of ultra softs.
Yeah, I've got Millstar on the super softs and 10th here on the super softs. So, but everybody else, yeah, you're right, is on the ultra softs.
And I think in a circuit like this, where it is a one-stop strategy, you can pit almost wherever you want. And we have seen, at times that it can be kind of difficult to break through. To overtake can be kind of difficult to move forward, particularly when cars are in a train. That qualifying at circuits like this is really important to get yourself up near the front. Otherwise, you're just going to be jammed in a big train of cars in the midfield. So going for a higher wing setup could give you a little bit of extra qualifying time and just get you up into that sort of top grid on the grid, group on the grid.
Just got interesting info for you here, Alex. just got a message from one of the drivers, I won't name who. It is a full wet race.
So, James, if you're in this situation, you know, let's say we rock up to Russia in a week's time and it's a dry qualifying, wet race. What do you do in terms of setup? You know, do you go for a dry setup and try and get yourself as far up the grid and then defend, or do you go for a wet setup and have that better pace in the race?
Well, I like your comment, what you just made before with the setups. Yes, you can run a low downforce and hope to defend, but it is a track where you probably can get away with using high downforce, mainly because of the middle sector and the last sector. It is particularly, like you say, it's 90 degrees all the way around, and you need some sort of downforce to basically manoeuvre those corners as best as possible. So, if it was me, if it's this situation in a week, I'd personally go for the high downforce setup. Play for the wet weather, because that's where it's won and lost. You can't win and lose it in quali.
Now that's interesting. I'll make sure to take a note of that one for the race next week.
Just giving it all away to one of the competitors. It's Johnny Raventon coming out to the last corner, lost it on the curb, and he's binned it in the pit wall.
So did he just lose the rear there? I'm assuming.
He has
missing that front right tire. He must have done.
He has just. It was interesting though, because he started his quick lap a lap before, and he actually got held up by Formula One Luke. He didn't actually get held up because Formula One Luke was entitled to the space because he was on this lap himself. But Danny Railton's just spent a whole lap going very slowly, getting out of people's ways, going off track. And I bet you any money, that slow lap has cooled his tyres. As soon as he put that power down, he's off.
Yeah, this is one of the things about Russia where, you know, I did mention before, it's such a low tyre wear circuit. You know, the track surface is very smooth, but I suppose the other side of that is there's not a huge amount of grip given from the track. It's quite a low grip surface, so it is easier to lose the car here, particularly compared to a couple of the tracks that we've just been to. I mean, we've just been to the likes of China and Bahrain, and I would definitely say that controlling the car on traction is harder at this circuit than it was at the previous two, just due to the nature of the surface. But as we're seeing M. Durant taking a provisional pole at the moment, that's a really good place for him to be. I'm on board with Anders. Who are you on board with?
Just one sec. I'm on board with Mali Keke, who I think may have had a spin in the same place Danny Railton's just had a spin, because he's just gone very slowly. Oh no, he's just completed his fast lap. I looked at it. Ignore me. He's just completed his fast lap. So Mali Keke's got into third. We've got Fletcher Boys just taking provisional pole off of Doran with a 34.4. Closest Super Soft run is 10th here. He's only second off, which isn't a bad lap time. But there's quite a few people yet to put a lap time in. So, how long have we got? We've only got 5 minutes though. So, this track will get very busy very quickly in the next 5 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, this is an interesting thing from Temp and Millstar going for super soft tires. I mean, if we've got a wet race, I'm assuming the start of the race is wet as well. I think that's the information that we've gotten. So, yeah, I mean, I don't really understand why those two have gone out on the super softs. Bit of a strange decision for them. I mean, when it's a dry qualifying in a wet race, you don't have to worry about the tires, right? I mean, you can go out on ultras, and especially at this circuit with so little tire wear, I mean, you could probably do 3 laps in a row on a set of ultras at the end of qualifying, and not have to worry about the tire life sort of slowing you down. And then, of course, you get rid of those tires anyway because you're starting on a set of wets or inters for the race. So, yeah, a bit of an odd decision, I think, for them to go for super softs. But this is definitely a circuit where you can do multiple laps on the same set of tire, and I think we may see some of that towards the end of the session.
Yeah, you're right there. But Tempe has just gone into the pit, so he might be going in for a change of tyre to Ultra, so Millstar. So he might be just putting a banker lap in, just to see where they are in relation to the Ultra. Let's see what we've got on a fast lap.
I'm on board with Ali Montine, who's just coming through the end of the first sector now, as Calzo retires from the session.
Has Calzo binned it? Calzo has binned it. Calzo has binned it. Where is that? Or has he just retired? I'm not too sure on that one. His car is stationary. Let's change the TV pod. No, all wheels are on. I am not sure on that one, mate. Calzo has retired, but don't know why. Can't see why.
Might just be, I mean, Calzo is one of our World Series drivers, so, you know, for the World Series and World Championship drivers, I mean, this is really an opportunity for them to come and, you know, to a bit of a test session, but also have a look at the reserve drivers, just in case that, well, either if they need a reserve driver later on in the season, they can get a good idea of who they might want to pick, but also in case, you know, another team takes one of these reserve drivers in one of the future rounds, and having information, you know, having raced against someone before, if you end up battling them in an actual World Series race, then you've got a little bit of that extra information to help you out. As I'm watching, Ali Montine has not improved on his time. He's currently sat in P5 at the moment. We've got quite a few drivers that haven't set laps yet. I'm imagining that, well, I mean, this last couple of minutes of qualifying is going to be a little bit of a happy hour in terms of these lap times.
I've just got onto board with RDB. He's done exactly the same as Danny Railton has cheesed across the line. He's lost it on the exit. He's actually put his lap time in, going backwards. Just like in the Formula E, I think Sam Bird did exactly the same thing in China. So IDB is stationary with 3 wheels on his wagon next to his pit wall. But he managed to get that lap in.
Yeah, we seem to be losing. Well, we seem to be losing World Series drivers at the moment. Definitely struggling a little bit in these conditions. I'm imagining with, you know, it looks pretty cloudy, pretty dark. You know, the track's likely quite cold, and that might just be causing the, you know, the tires to slip a little bit more than usual. We've also had Caribbean, who's retired from the session, although he said that he ran out of fuel on a second run. And yeah, I mean, if you're going for 2 or 3 runs at the end of the session, you've got to remember to put enough fuel in to get those laps in. As I watch Ali Montine running very deep in the third sector, and he has actually abandoned the lap, and with only a minute left to go, he won't have another opportunity to set a time, as Slimbo Dude puts himself up into P3 and then retires.
Yep, Slimbo Dude just retired, pulled alongside. We've got Fletcher Boy lining himself up for a lap, just coming into the final sector, so he'll be coming to the line shortly for his final run. We've got yellow in sector 3. Who's that? It looks like P2 in 15th is on a, well, it looks like it's running out of fuel, if I'm honest. Let's go on board with Fletcher Boy. I'll take us through Fletcher Boy if that's so.
Perfect.
Sector 1 on the pitch straight, open to DRS. On full rich, nope, can't say the fuel mode, so I'll commentate elsewhere. So fourth gear through sector for the first corner, nice and tidy. Along the long left-hander turn 5. Weirdly enough, he doesn't actually shift up to 8th gear on that. It keeps it in 7th. Nice. The first sector is a 34.3. Not too sure what is a good lap time. Shumi Garcia, by the way, has just gone P2, only 0.06 behind Fletcher Boy. So Fletcher Boy under a bit of pressure.
Yeah, Shumi Garcia going for another lap as well. Looks like these two might be the drivers battling for pole right now. Ooh, Fletcher's had a bit of a cut there. Has that invalidated his lap, do you know?
The time's still going. He's not activated his DRS, so... Yeah,
oh, he is retired. He's retired, so... I'm going to hop on board with Shumi Garcia. Shumi Garcia was the winner out of the World Series Reserves in Bahrain at that race. Pulled off a one-stop strategy compared to Twist Royalty, who did a 2-stop. And that's an interesting point where every World Series Reserves race so far this season has had a different winner. So it'll be interesting to see if we get a 4th winner tonight, although with some of the Championship Reserves drivers in as well.
Gone pole with a 33.9. What a lap that is.
Phenomenal time for Mali Kekec. I mean, you know,
second clear.
we know Mali Kekec. He's a bit of a qualifying specialist. You know, he's almost at home on the front row of the grid. So yeah,
Alex,
kind of expect to see that kind of time.
Get on board with Schumi. He's less than half a tenth behind Mali Kekec's time.
Yeah, I've been following on him for this lap, and he's coming up to these final two corners now. Important just to get the car tucked into this final corner. It's right in the white lines, but that is legal, and he goes second place, the front row of the grid for Schumi Garcia, and I think that he is the final driver to cross the line. Indeed he is. So yeah, I mean, he's just jumped ahead of Fletcher there, and I mean, was it possibly that invalidation from Fletcher may have just cost him a front row start? Only, well, half a tenth really between the two of them. Very, very close in qualifying there. But yeah, I mean, Mali Kekec with a phenomenal time into the 33s, only person into the 33s here today.
It's unusual that Schumi was, from what I saw, Schumi didn't make many errors in Sector 3, and he was only less than half a tenth behind after two sectors. So maybe, I don't know, maybe Schumi Garcia's gone for a low downforce and Mali Kekec's gone for a higher setup. Because that is a big difference in the last sector.
Yeah, it could be that, or you know, just could be something to do with the driving style. I mean, I think we have seen at times in the World Series last season that Mali Kekec was a little bit more at home on the technical sections of tracks and the street circuit. So that might just be a particular strength of his. I remember him, I think, winning the race in Singapore last season. So it might be something like that. Or possibly a setup issue. I mean, that third sector is really where, if you were running higher wings, that they would really come into their own.
Very true, very true. So it's interesting, 10th period actually...
it didn't improve on his time.
He actually did a ultra soft run, but obviously they made a mistake or something. But we've got 30 seconds. Do you want to go through the top 10?
Okay, so the grids, we have Mali Kekec and Schumi Garcia on the front row, followed by Fletcher Boy, M. Doran, Slimbo Dude, and TG, who is Caribbean Crush. Then we've got in 7th place Anders and Ali Mantine following him. Then we've got Temp Fear, Formula 1 Look making up the rest of the top 10. After that, we've got Millstar, RDB, Yuzi, Drew, Sizen, and then the three drivers not to set time, starting at the back, are Danny Railton, Konzo, and Calzo.
Interesting. Those three have opted to not put a time in and start at the back. So we'll see how they progress through the field at the start. So I'll tell you what. How we should work it. Alex, you take the front pack. I'll take the rear pack, and let's see.
Well, I see what the drivers were saying about full wets, because this is. I'm assuming that this is going to mean full wet tires, and from what they said, full wet all race. Yeah, it's probably, well, I don't see this ever getting dry, to be honest, right now. Very, very heavy rain as we ready ourselves for the start of the race. A couple drivers just ready up here. We'll get ourselves underway. So this is round 4 of the reserves here at Front Row Racing, and just waiting for Drew to ready up, and then we'll be on the grid. All right, so here we go as the lights build, the 5 lights, and it's lights out and away we go in Russia. Very, very tentative start. Mali Kekec getting away well. He's already pulled a slight gap. We've got Slimbo Dude making up a position, already up into P3, and the spray is incredibly difficult to see what's going on. Schumi Garcia and Slimbo battling it out, but there is contact between Schumi Garcia and Slimbo, and also one of the cars, I believe that's Fletcher, has just come across the track. He ran wide at turn 1. Mali Kekec is effectively gone already, but now we've got Slimbo Dude going up past Fletcher. He's into P2. I believe that Schumi Garcia has had some kind of incident. I believe that he may have spun. He's dropped a long way down the field, and Fletcher Boy is just losing a couple positions here. The interval changes are just going absolutely crazy with this start. But yeah, SPL Mali Kekec maintaining his lead at the moment. Got a lot of battling in the midfield. Anders coming under pressure from TG, who's well, he's all over the back of him. Just a couple tenths behind now through this middle sector. It's very, very difficult to see with the amount of spray on my screen. You were watching the midfield there, James. What did you catch?
I didn't. All I catch was Ali Mantine spinning. I didn't catch who spun him or whether it was his own demise. But no, well, from what I saw, it was very clean apart from that spin from Ali. Definitely don't know what happened to Schumi. He's got no front wing, so obviously he's had contact. Maybe one of the late breakers into turn one. Maybe hit the back of someone, I'm not too sure. It did actually drop down to about 5th or 6th before they reached turn 2. So he had a terrible start. The biggest gainer from that really is Calzo, who's up into 8th, up into 10th, gaining 8th. Oh, 9th. He just gained another place up for 9th.
Yeah, biggest loser out of that is definitely Fletcher, who's gone from 3rd to now 10th on the grid. He's battling with RDBs all over the AstroTurf on the outside there, coming through the final corners, and that's certainly not going to help your traction through there. RDB grabs the spot as we've got Temp Fear coming up behind Formula One Luke. Now I know these two know each other, so this will be interesting. Temp going to make a move down the outside of Formula One Luke into turn 1, although Formula One Luke very late on the brakes. Temp perhaps looking for a bit of a switchback as Luke runs wide. Temp's going to try and take it all the way around the outside. Huge moment of oversteer for him. He's almost lost the car, but they're still side by side through turn 3. A little bit of contact. Wow. Temp being pushed wide by Luke. I don't think that was intentional, but yeah, I mean, he's had to back out, although Luke's gone straight on, almost into the wall. Yeah. And there goes Calzo, says, thank you, I'll have both of those places.
What a move by Calzo, what a move. But no, that was interesting with 10 feet. It was like Tokyo Drift rather than Formula 1 through there. Who else have we got? Let's have a look. We did have the Ferrari of, was it Slimbo Dude? No, it wasn't Slimbo Dude. Anders was fighting with Nilstar TV Slimbo Dude. Oh, Malikakek is off. What's happened there?
He hasn't broken his wing. I don't think he slowed down massively there. I'm not sure if he had a moment or if he's just had to pause. Schumi Garcia out of this race, unfortunately. Let me hop on with him. Yeah, he's missing a large amount of front wing there, so some sort of incident. I believe that's at turn 4. Although his wheel has just fallen off on my screen by itself, so I'm not really sure what's going on with that. I did miss Caribbean Crush getting past Limbo Dude for P2, and he's looking pretty racy here at the moment as we've got Milstar up the inside on Slimbo, as Slimbo's run very, very wide, and he's on that AstroTurf again. You really don't want to be out there at all, and M. Doran has managed to take that lead from SPL Mali Kekek, setting the fastest lap of the race, and well, he's storming off into the distance at the moment, 3.4 seconds ahead.
Yeah, not sure what happened to Kekek then. The one thing I don't want to say, but I hope it isn't the case, that he's just basically letting him through to give himself more of a contest, because he was streaking away at the front, so I'm sure it's not. I'm sure he's probably made a mistake.
Slimbo Dude is round. He's in the wall at the start of turn 3. That's the yellow flags there in Sector 1. He's dropping many places. I believe that we saw Konzo get past Fletcher and Temp Fear there as well. Temp still right on the back of Fletcher. He's the two Mercedes drivers getting very close to each other, and yeah, Konzo and Calzo making their way through the field. Remember, they started at the back, so yeah, they're making their way through pretty quickly.
Formula 1 Luke's been attacked by Konzo. 3-second time penalty for Danny Railton, just going wide. Yeah, that would have been going wide. Yeah, going wide there. What else we've got? We've got a good battle for Calzo, Formula 1 Luke, Fletcher Boy and Temp Fear coming down the back straight. Looks like Fletcher Boy can have a go at Formula 1 Luke. He's going to the inside. Luke's giving the inside line. Outside line, sorry. Oh, he's going around the outside. Has he made it? Oh no, it's gone wide.
Yeah, just running a little bit too deep at the apex of the corner there, and Formula 1 Luke just kept it tidy on the inside. And I mean, this is something about driving in wet conditions. It's really just the most important thing is just to keep it smooth and try and avoid making the mistakes, and the pace will come as M. Doran sets another fastest lap of the race, although that's quickly matched by Caribbean Crush, and well, bettered by Caribbean Crush, and he's starting to pull in that gap a little bit. So we watch Fletcher run a bit wide, and there's down the inside along this pit straight, and he is through on his teammate here. A lot of lag coming off of Temp's car. It'll be a little bit worrying for Fletcher, but Fletcher coming back at him a little bit. Oh, he's much later on the brakes, and he does make a move down the inside, but that's not going to be quite enough to get past Temfear. Now here comes Danny Railton in the McLaren, and he's going to try and hold it around the inside of turn 3. They are side by side through here. Very difficult corner in the wet. It's flat out in the dry, but definitely not in these conditions. Danny Railton has managed to make his way through, although quite a lot of lag off of his car. I think that might be on my end possibly, but yeah, it does look like Fletcher has lost that position to Danny Railton as well.
We've got a few cars in the pits. We've got Slimbo Dudes in the pits, obviously for that spin, and Anders is also in the pits. Drew's in the pits, but I think he's retired. Yeah, it looks like he's retired. Other than that, the closest gap we've got is Formula 1 and 10th here. And Danny Railton. Danny Railton's in it. Oh, Malika's going up the inside of Millstar. He's just not made it through there. A bit late on the brakes there from Mali. He won't try it there. And in the process, they are catching TG. TG is struggling. M. Durant's just bolted. Now 3.5 seconds in front of these three. I think Mali's going to have no start into turn 2 by the look to it. He's been eyeing him up all through the last sector. And if he can get a good run on him, Calzo's at 52.5, just behind Mali. So Calzo, this is bringing Calzo right into play. But here goes Mali. Coming to the inside of Millstar. Who's latest on the brakes? It looks like Mali. Nice clean move past Millstar. Up into third for Mali. Millstar loses to 4th place.
Yeah, very good move from Mali Kekec there on the brakes, although is Millstar going to try and come back at him. I believe there was contact there, yeah. Millstar is missing. Millstar is missing a fairly significant portion of the right hand of his front wing, so that's really going to happen, particularly in these conditions. The amount of time you lose from having a broken front wing is massive, even in the dry, but in the wet conditions it's even worse. So I only see, well, Millstar, he's got to pit here surely.
And you can see just how bad it is affecting, because Calzo's just absolutely drove up to the back of him, and it probably will have him into the back straight. Let's have a look.
Yeah, I'm getting some very strange audio off of Calzo's car at the moment. His car is just jammed at the rev liner for me, but yeah, unfortunately, you see some messages from some of the drivers. Shimi Garcia confirming that he was involved in an incident. Allegedly, Drew is saying that he had everybody on his screen simply disappear, so I don't really know what that's about.
On the inside of Millstar. And he's not made it stick, but it could have undercut him. He might not do it here. He might wait to, yeah, he's going to wait. I think he's going to wait to the first corner. Second corner. 3 second time penalty to TG. He looks like he has been struggling. And he's got Mali all over the back of him, so I think the pressure's getting to TG a little bit.
Yeah, very easy to make mistakes in these sorts of conditions, particularly when you've got a quick driver right behind you. Is Mali Kekec going to be close enough to have a look into turn 1? He's very late on the brakes. He does put his nose down the inside a little bit, but that's kind of a half-hearted move as Calzo's down the inside of Millstar. But that move isn't going to work out either. Just wasn't able to get far enough alongside. See if he's able to do something through turn 3. He's got so much more grip through here. He's actually just going to sweep right through past Millstar, who simply can't compete with that wing damage. And Millstar hasn't pitted yet, and I think that, well, surely he's got to aim for a pit stop now. He's lost a huge amount of time to the guys in front of him.
Yes, indeed. Looks like Conzo just got past RDP. 10th finger setting the pace. He just set the fastest lap. He's still in 8th. He's only gained 1 position by the looks of it. Danny Railton and Fletcher Boy in quite a scrappy battle for the last point position. Formula 1 Luke's sort of in the middle of that as well.
Yeah, a bit of a train forming behind Luke here, and you know, it's interesting. Normally, what happens in wet conditions is the grid ends up very spread out, but there's still plenty of battles going on here. But Danny Railton just making a slight mistake through there, and he's lost a little bit of ground to Fletcher, so we won't be able to get past on this lap. Now, here's an interesting point. In the wet conditions, you technically... Oh, sorry, hold on. We've got Formula One Luke making a move on Fletcher. Sorry, Fletcher making a move on Formula One Luke. Formula One Luke going, I think, deep into that corner. Missed that, apologies for that. But now we've got Danny Rilton right on the back of Formula One Luke, as well as Fletcher's had a huge moment, and he's almost almost looks as if he was going into the pits there. But contact as well between Fletcher and Luke, and Fletcher does hold on to that position. He's trying to, but Luke's just shoved him off. No room there. Look, just he's not having any of that from Danny Rilton. Definitely does not want to be giving up that position. Pretty aggressive defending from him there, but yeah, Danny Rilton definitely looks a little bit quicker at the moment, so I'm sure he'll have another crack at it fairly soon.
Millstar's had enough of that broken wing, Alex. He's been into the pits and put another set of full wets.
Yeah, I expect to see that. Now, one thing about it being full wet conditions, was just the point I was on before this battle heated up, was technically in wet conditions you don't have to pit, right? Yeah, I mean, you could technically start the race on this set of wet tires and take them all the way through to the end, and that would be legal, as Danny Rilton has got a time penalty. We saw that on board. That was a big cut. You don't have to pit, so especially at a track like this where there's very low tire wear, would you expect to see a pit stop from these drivers?
I would. Well, it's a hard call, isn't it? Because, like you say, you can go to the end. You don't need to pit, obviously, when it's wet. The durability of the tyres are better this year through all the range of dries and wets. I think there'd be too much grip loss if you were trying to go to the end. Yeah, I think a pit stop would be more sensible, especially if you're running in, I don't know, say 4th, 5th or 6th. If you came in, put a fresh set of heats on, and then you can push, hopefully in clean air, maybe put some pressure on at the end. Other than that, like you said, I think a no stop is doable, but yeah, it'll be very close. We've got Malik Kekek having a move on TG into the first corner, or second corner. Oh, he's going to hit him! I don't know if he hit him. He hit him?
Yeah, I think there was some light contact there, although I don't see any damage, just minor contact. But Malik Kekek is climbing all over the back of TG, but he doesn't have the straight line speed to be able to make a move at the moment, so he might have to get a little bit inventive to get past here. He's been stuck behind TG for the last few laps, and well, that is pulling Calzo into play. Yeah. He's pulling up to the back of these two. It'd be interesting to hear about what sort of wings these guys are running, but I mean, just kind of quietly, quietly up at the front, we've got M. Doran, who's, he's sitting there. He's roughly 3 seconds ahead. I think he's quite comfortable at the moment. He's got a nice gap. It's not really, it's not really expanding or shrinking. It's just staying around about that 3 second mark. And yeah, I think that he'll be very content to just let these guys.
Look out for Calzo. He's coming right at the back of Mali. Just so you know as well, Kepu's crashed at the end of this straight just before the tunnel. And he's retired from the second.
Yeah, I think already it looks as if Calzo's running less aero than Malik Kekek, as that revving is getting quite annoying from his car. But Malik Kekek he's so much quicker than TG through this final sector, but he just can't get the move done on the straight. He's not able to pull alongside, so STG running deep there again. And now Malik Kekek, surely this has got to be the lap, but a phenomenal traction from TG out of that final corner. He just gets such a good launch, and there's really not much that Malik Kekek can do. He's got to find a way to get off that final corner better, because he's just not anywhere near him in this this braking zone. He's much later on the brakes. He has a little look again, but I mean, there's no chance of a move there. Andy picks up a penalty. But now we've got Calzo around the outside.
He likes that move. He's trying it again.
He'll now have the inside for turn 4. He is going to have the car sufficiently alongside. Lots of contact there. And Malik Kekek, I think, has lost the position he has. I don't see any wing damage on either car. So Calzo from the back of the grid now up into P3. He's done a good job to get past Mali Kekec. Their opportunistic move, Mali Kekec having a little look at TG, but it was half-hearted, and it's now cost him a position to Calzo.
Yeah, it was a nice move. It's a little bit aggressive, but Mali gave him the room, so Calzo was entitled to go for it. Just a bit of tyre bumping. There wasn't any broken wing by the look of it. So yeah, Calzo on the charge and after TG now. Mali staying with him, just checking what the closest battles are. Alain Montine is in the pits once again. That might mean for a new fresh boots again.
Yeah, it's a second pit stop. I'm assuming that's for. Assuming it's for damage. I believe if the drivers are going to pit, then I would expect the pit stops to be, well, probably around about the midway part. Maybe lap 12, 13, 14 would be when drivers might aim to pit. But yeah, I mean, you know, possibly if you were going for a big sort of undercut and expecting other drivers to pit as well, you could go on lap 9. I suppose that would be doable. As we now got Konzo setting the fastest lap of the race. He's in P5, got a bit of clear air in front of him until he gets onto the back of this group battling for P2. But yeah, Konzo and Calzo from the back of the grid, that's actually worked out quite well for them.
And this is Crafted, not too sure where that is, sector 2. He's only got 3 wheels on his wagon, and he's going for an early shower.
Yeah, the front left there, this is in the middle sector, I think.
He's retired. He's in the pits. He's just driven into the pits.
He's only got half a front wing. That'll be why he's lost his front wing and decided that he's had enough. So yeah, I mean that's it's giving an opportunity to some of the guys who are further back to maybe make up some ground. But a couple of the guys that have had to pit, you know, still a long way back out of the points. We've got Millstar, we've got Slimbo Dude, Alain Montine is a long way back. So these guys have got a huge amount of work to do if they want to grab some points today.
Yeah, we're getting a bit spread out now. Tempfear might be looking at RDB shortly. Yeah, been catching for a couple laps. Got a yellow flag in sector 1. Who's that for? Is that for one of the retirees? I think that is. Oh, Mali's gone.
No. Oh, Malik is in sector 3, but he has left the session. I'm not sure if this is. I'm assuming it's connection related.
I think it might be. Yeah.
His car looks fairly intact, other than the fact that it's ghosting. So yeah, it's definitely not for damage. So that will probably be a connection related. For Mali Kekec. We'll see if he's able to get back in. Seeing as it is a reserve event, you are allowed to rejoin, although TG putting in the fastest lap of the race, and he's starting to take time out of Andorra now. That gap coming down to 1.5 seconds, and it seems like now that the pressure of Mali Kekec has gone from behind him, that he's able to actually start pushing again.
Yeah, you're not wrong there. 10, only 6/10 away. That might be the closest one, other than the top 3. Top 3 is going to be interesting. This is all going to be about, do they pit for a new set? Will it bring them out? Or do they risk going to the end?
Well, RDB with I'm not sure if that was a moment there or if that was letting Tempfear through, but Tempfear is up into 6th place. Well, Mali Kekec's car is still ghosted, so that's effective P5 now, and he's got a bit of work to do before he gets up to the back of Konzo, but I mean, from what we know about Temp in the wet conditions, that's not out of the question for him to get himself involved in this battle for the lead still. We've got 16 laps remaining, so there's plenty of time for drivers to do that, although RDB is right on the back of Tempfear again, so yeah, maybe just had a moment, Tempfear getting through, but RDB is not giving up yet. Oh, he's had a huge moment in the middle sector. Does very well to control the car there and avoid one of the walls. Looked like he was going into one and then the other for a moment, but he has got control of his car, so good job there from RDB.
I was just going to say, Alex, what's the, do you know what the time in lost in pits is around this track?
I mean, in the dry, it's quite a long pit lane. You're looking at about 24 seconds, most likely. In the wet, maybe a little bit less than that, but yeah, it's definitely one of the longer pit lane times on the calendar. As Calzo now getting pretty close to TG here, just half a second away. But yeah, I mean it's a fairly big, it's a fairly big loss in the pits here. It's quite a long, slow pit lane.
Because if they were to pit and your 24 seconds is about right, the top, well, if M Duran came in, he'd come out around SBL Melikekic's ghost team car. Yeah, it would be quite cleaner. You'd have to get past Fletcher Boy quite quickly, but then you've got a 5-second gap to RDB. So yeah, again, it's an interesting call, and it'll be interesting to see what tyre they're all. Oh, TG is less than a second behind M Duran.
Yeah, M Duran looking, well, he was looking really in control earlier on in the race, but he's starting to struggle a little bit now, as these guys behind him are just consistently getting quicker and quicker. And now TG just 4/10ths away. He might have a little look along this back straight. He's quite a long way back for now, but he's not gaining too much behind M Duran. Obviously no DRS in these conditions, so it can be quite hard to get overtakes done unless the driver in front makes a mistake. That's really what you've got to bank on. But yeah, TG now very much within that sort of attacking range.
Set the race back. I won't give away who's got penalties, but I'm just gonna have a quick.
James, would you be able to give out an invite, perhaps to Mali Kekec and also to Drew? I think that you should be able to do that from the menu there, as TG is having a look at M Duran down into turn 1 while he's right behind him along this straight. Is he going to be close enough to have a look? It looks like M Duran's running lower wings because he's very, very quick on a straight line, and TG just not able to get alongside into that braking zone. Calzo also very, very close to these guys. And Duran now is coming under attack from TG through this long left-hander through turn 3. And is he going to have a little look down the inside for turn 4? He does. Makes the move. He does make the car. Well, he does get it to the apex, but Duran holds that beautifully around the outside. Phenomenal driving from him to hold on to that there. And he's going to hold it around the outside again, coming into the middle sector here. And this is bringing Calzo into play, who's now right on the back of these guys. And he's run into the back of TG, but I don't think there's any wing damage. It was very light contact, and drive's getting extremely close there. Great defensive work from M Duran, but he's going to go 14 more laps of this, I think, if he wants to hold on to this first place. And yeah, I mean, TG's, well, this is his Caribbean Crush, so he is one of our championship drivers. M Duran, one of our reserves. But yeah, big moment big oversteer moment on the exit of that corner. Now Caribbean Crush is going to have a look down down the outside. Is he later on the brakes? No, I don't think that he is.
Calzo's broke his wing. Calzo's broke his wing. He's not anticipated the speed at the apex that Duran was setting. TG's obviously reacted to it, but Calzo's lost a bit of wing, and that's going to let Conzo come in. Like, Calzo needs to, if he can, hit. Oh, Duran's gone to the pits.
Okay, so M Duran, he's going to go for the pit lane, middle of the race. He's going for the sort of theoretical best race time, just to pit right in the center there. Do half stints on either, but now we've got Conzo behind Calzo. Calzo, we can see that wing damage on board with him losing. Well, he's missing a massive amount of his front wing. Surely he can't be thinking to stay out with this. I mean, he's got to be losing a lot of time from that. And yeah, Conzo is...
He's gone straight into the pits then.
Yeah, that's definitely what I would have done. So yeah, we've... M Duran is... Oh, sorry, hold on. Conzo getting very close to Calzo here. Is he going to get a better exit out of turn 4? He's taking a little bit of a later apex, and that does give him the run. He's down the inside of his brother, and they're side by side. Great driving from these two. Calzo with a slightly better exit around the outside there. See if Conzo's able to have a little look down the inside. No, he doesn't. He backs out. But Conzo, he does have that full front wing, so he really needs to get past Calzo here if he wants to win this race.
Yeah, true. M Duran's had to come out in quite a lot of pressure. So Fletcher Boy's the only one in front of him really. He's 3 seconds behind him. But yeah, I'm surprised Calzo's not actually let Conzo through, because obviously he doesn't lose time to TP. But Calzo really needs to pit at the end of this lap, really. That broken front wing is not helping either one of them.
Yeah, he has dropped 1.6 seconds behind TG. It's not quite as much as I would have thought. It does look like the damage is fairly significant, but Calzo seems to be dealing with it fairly well. But yeah, I mean, Konzo, he's got to find a way past.
TD pitting.
Calzo and Konzo continue. It's very interesting.
Sector 2. Sector 2. What's going on in Sector 2? Let's have a look. Any spinners? Not that I can see, but anyway, there you go. So
This will be interesting because is TG going to be able to get out of the pits ahead of M. Doran? They were very, very close when M. Doran pitted last lap. And
I'll keep an eye on Dora. I'll keep an eye on Dora. It's coming around the last corner now.
Oh, it's going to be close. TG is just about to get to the pit lane line. He does here. Oh god, it's going to be very, very close. He's just leaving the pits now. He's TG with some fresh boots on his car. Wow. They might even be side by side. They are going to be side by side going into turn 1. And it looks as if M. Doran is just about ahead.
Yeah.
And he is. Yeah. He just holds on to that lead. So M. Doran pitting. Whoa, big moment from TG. Huge moment. But he just holds on to that. And, well, yeah, I mean, M. Doran, great call to pit 1 lap earlier, get the undercut on TG, and he maintains his lead right there. Really, really smart driving from him. And now we're going to see if these two Renaults up front are going to respond. Konzo still climbing all over the back of Calzo as TG's left the session. Not quite sure what that's about. Perhaps he's perhaps he's had enough of a test. But Konzo coming up close behind Calzo now, down towards the 3rd sector. But he's just not close enough on the straights. Drivers finding it very, very difficult to overtake on these straights today.
Alex, I didn't invite them because I didn't know how to invite them. How do you invite them from in game? Can you do that?
It should be an option on one of the, just on the start menu.
I've only got race director.
Okay, if it's not an option, then it might be something to do with the lobby settings then, as RDB picks up a 5-second stop go penalty for exceeding track limits. That's a bizarre one. It's not very often that you see that. Normally it's just a sort of standard 3-second penalty, but yeah, stop go is a bit of an odd thing. But yeah, I mean, this is interesting. Konzo and Calzo continuing on. You've got to somewhat assume at this point, you know, they've gone 16 laps on these tyres, that they're aiming to not even pit at all.
Yeah, it'll be weird for Calzo not to let his brother through if that wing is quite badly damaged. 10th is in 3rd. Again, whether he pits or not, I don't know. M. Doran's got a bit of traffic to get through before he reaches the Renault, so I don't know, maybe the Renaults are trying to... oh, Millstar's gone. He's in the pits, but he's obviously adding up.
Yeah, I mean, well, this is the thing. If Konzo and Calzo are not going to pit again, and they can keep themselves ahead of the likes of M. Doran coming back through, if they can just maintain enough of a gap, then these two are battling for the win here. So I'm not too surprised that Calzo's not letting his brother through, and I'm assuming that as the season goes on, the rivalry between these two is going to heat up a little bit on track, you know, particularly in the series events. But yeah, I mean, Konzo, he's looking a lot quicker through the middle sector, but he's just not able to get past. Calzo seems really quick in a straight line, and the drivers really aren't getting, well, much if anything out of the slipstream right now.
Yeah. Well, it's Sector 1's got a yellow, but I think that's for Millstar's retired car.
Would you be able to look at the lap times that M. Doran is doing compared to Calzo and see if he is closing this gap down? That'll be interesting to know if he's reeling them in by a lot or if he's just getting a little, because you know, it's 10 laps left. He's got a lot of ground still to make up. He's got to really be pulling this gap in. Geez, probably about 2 seconds a lap, I would say.
He's done latest lap time was a 1:52. Dead. So I don't know what is this. So the next lap time hasn't actually registered yet for some reason. A 151.5. So now he's up to speed. He's at 151.5. That'll probably come down by half a second over the next couple of laps. Conzo is currently doing behind his brother. He's doing 52.5 or 52.0. Calvo himself is doing 52.4, 52.1. So what, about a second maybe?
Yeah, I think it's got to be more than that. I think right now for Doran to make up this time, he's onto the back of Fletcher now, and he needs to get past pretty quickly if he wants a chance at this win. He's 8 tenths behind at the moment, and he's really got to find a way past Fletcher and then RDB and then Temp Fear as quickly as he possibly can, because he's got 10 laps left. If I go to the leader here, I mean he's got to make up 20 seconds in 10 laps. He's really got to get a move on now.
It'll be interesting to see if this is actually Team Mora for the Renault, and whether it's basically multi-21 on this occasion. But we'll see what happens towards the end of the race. Maybe Calzo will let Conzo through as brotherly love, but I'm pretty sure that will happen. So we'll see how that pans out.
Yeah, I don't know about that. Generally in Formula One, your biggest... Yeah, I think so. Generally in Formula One, your biggest rival is your teammate, and I think when your teammate is your brother, that's going to be even more so. So yeah, I imagine that these two will probably be battling quite hard. But yeah, I mean, Calzo just seems really quick in a straight line. As we see now, well, TG's car falling back down. We do have a message from him saying that he had to go. So yeah, he's got other commitments. But he also said, a little sort of tidbit here, that he thinks he made a mistake pitting because he only had 28% tire wear. Now, he pitted on lap, I think it was 14. If he only had 28% tire wear in 14, then these tires should go to the end of the race. So for Conzo and Calzo, they should make it to the end in terms of tire wear. It's just if those tires really start to fall off in terms of pace.
Yeah, so that's really, 20% after 14 laps is amazing tire wear.
Yeah, I mean that's what, 2% a lap. It's very, very low.
Well, you did say it at the start of the broadcast, how low the actual tire wear is. So yeah, got yellow in sector 3, but I can't quite pin out who that is. Sure, nobody looks like they've had enough.
Yeah, I'm just sitting on board with Conzo at the moment. He's behind Calzo on the straight, but Calzo's actually pulling away from him. So yeah, I mean, Conzo lacking a little bit in that straight line speed.
Duran's just got an easy pass on Fletcher Boyd, because Fletcher Boyd just led him through.
Oh, I've been waiting for that for ages to move away to the front, and he's just gone through. Was it just Fletcher Boyd pulling over?
It pretty much was Fletcher Boyd just moving over to the side and letting him through, yeah.
Well, that's interesting. I mean, maybe Fletcher is thinking about RDB in P4, and he's maybe not been able to quite close in the gap himself, and perhaps he thinks that if he lets M. Duran through, M. Duran and RDB might start to battle, and then he might be able to get something out of that. So perhaps a little bit of tactical play here from Fletcher, letting M. Duran through. That's good for M. Duran because he needs to really get his foot down, he needs to get past RDB and then start eating into that gap to the leaders. But I mean, right now he's just not making up the ground that he needs to.
Yeah, good thinking that actually. Might be using his slipstream just to pull him in a bit. Probably will be the case. Yeah.
It can also be the case in very wet conditions that it's easier to follow another car and look at where they're braking and how they're driving and trying to, well, maybe partly copy that, but also learn from it. You can see if they run deep into a corner that you might need to brake a little earlier than them and so on. So yeah, it might just be a case that Fletcher's just trying to learn a little bit here from M. Doran, who is closing this gap down to RDB now. It's getting pretty close. RDB runs extremely deep in this third sector. He's just lost the car a little bit. Formula 1 look picking up a 10-second penalty for exceeding track limits. Bram Durant now is down the inside into the final couple of corners. A little bit of wheel banging between him and RDB, and he is in front onto the straight. RDB coming back at him though along this straight. Fletcher probably getting involved a little bit as well. RDB tucking into the slipstream somewhat, but is he going to be able to get the move done on Doran and end up defending his place? Doran with some great straight line speed. Is RDB going to have a little look at it? No, he's just not late enough on the brakes. Both of them running a little bit deep into turn 1. Just trying to defend there, well, trying to battle through that, both running slightly late on the brakes, but yeah, RDB not able to defend that position to Doran. Oh, he's run very wide off the track as well. Well, that's going to give an opportunity to Fletcher, who has
a lot of
slowed down.
Going there. Yeah. Fletcher, Temp's retired.
Temp's in a wall.
Temp is in a wall.
Temp is in a wall in the middle sector. He's lost the car. And, well, that's his race over from a podium position. Wow. So this puts Doran up into P3, but, yeah, he's still 20 seconds behind the leaders. But he's got clear air now.
Yeah, he's only got 8 at the end of this, 7 laps to go at the end of this lap. That's a tall order. That's a real tall order against Calzo and Conzo, even with a broken front wing.
Yeah, although the way that Calzo is driving at the moment, it's I don't know, it's almost like that wing damage isn't really affecting him too much. He's holding off his brother quite well, but I mean, yeah, Conzo has just been parked about 3 or 4 tenths behind Calzo for this whole sort of last 10 laps or so. He's just not able to get the move done, and every time we get onto this straight, Calzo gets a better exit off of the final corner, and Conzo's just he's not gaining on him. I mean, this gap is staying at 4 tenths along this straight, so he's got to make a move somewhere in the middle sector, I think.
Yeah. Duran's just taking only like a 3 tenths off on that lap, so yeah. Oh, Conzo's like within a tenth of his brother. No, it's just behind him.
He had a little look. He had a little look at the inside there, but he wasn't quite close enough to get the move done. He's got to look for good exits out of this middle sector, but Calzo in particular looks phenomenal on the traction at the moment. He seems to be getting very, very good exits out of these corners. Conzo getting quite close to him again. But again, Calzo just getting great exits, and he's able to maintain his position from that. He's getting good exits out of the corners, and then he seems to have fairly low wings. I can see Gonzo changing his fuel mix on his wheel, but I won't switch to see what he's changed it to. But yeah, I mean, Conzo just, he's not able to get close to him. And once again, on this straight, Calzo's pulling away from him.
Yeah, that looks like it's going to be the only battle to the end, to be honest. Duran's on his own. RDB and Fletcher Boy, 3 seconds apart. Formula 1 Luke 10 seconds behind, and Danny Railton within 2.5 seconds. After that, it's pretty much spread out. So it's all on Calzo and Conzo.
I mean, do we think that this is going to get messy at some point between these two? I mean, this is, these are both World Series drivers. This is effectively a test session for them, so there's no points on the board for this pairing, so things might get a little bit aggressive towards the end. That is a possibility, so don't cut that out. But yeah, I mean, Doran, he's pulling the gap down a little bit, but it's nowhere near enough. I mean, he needs to be taking multiple seconds a lap out of them now.
Yeah, he does. He needs a lot. He needs at least a second, maybe actually 2 seconds a lap now. And I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon. Just want to look at the race data to see if there's any corner cutting penalties for the top 3.
Well, it is Russia, so I'm assuming there's probably quite a few through the field. It is very easy to cut and extend at this track, just the nature of the circuit with the 90-degree corners and fairly low curbs. That it can be very easy to do so. I think this is the closest that Conzo has been to Calzo. He's trying to get a late apex and get a better exit, but it's not really working for him. He's right behind Calzo along this straight, but once again, He just doesn't have the straight line speed. We'll see if he's going to have a little look in the braking zone, but no, Calzo later on the brakes.
It's interesting because I don't think Conzo will mind, because it's a test session, losing to Calzo. Because if I'm honest, I think it is a case of Mobil 21. I think he's holding station. Unless Calzo makes a mistake, Conzo has had, to be honest, ample opportunities to have a go at Calzo. So
his problem is he's not able to get close enough into the braking zones. Although Calzo has just run a little bit deep. He makes a slight mistake in that final corner. This has got to be the moment for Conzo, surely. He's got to be able to get past here. But once again, Calzo with that superior straight line speed. Conzo trying to duck into the slipstream. Calzo goes to the outside. Conzo does go down the inside on Calzo. He's making the move, and they're side by side through the first corner. He shoves his brother wide there, and Conzo does get the place. And now he should be able to pull away. Yeah, you can see noticeably he's quicker through this long left-hander. So good move from Conzo there. You know, fairly forceful, but I think I would say fair enough.
Oh yeah, definitely fair enough. Yeah, nothing wrong with that move. That was a good move. Calzo gave him the room. Conzo took it and just eased him out a little bit. But yeah, you could say it was slightly aggressive, but I think that's more than fair in my book for that one.
Although Calzo is, he's not falling too far off the back of his brother despite the wing damage. He's keeping it within sort of 6/10 here, so this battle might not be over yet.
Well, we'll find out on the slip. Look at the time go up now with the slipstream.
Yeah, now Conzo's the one that's kind of pulling away from Calzo. A little bit odd here. We've seen drivers have troubles all race in following, well, I mean, really in getting any kind of slipstream along the straight. So, yeah, just I suppose it's mostly down to not having DRS, and if the car in front of you is getting a better exit, then you probably will lose time all the way down the straight. As I'm just going to hop on with Danny Railton, who's beginning to catch Formula One look. This gap was, well, 3 seconds a few laps ago. It's now 6/10, and Danny Railton, has he made a stop? Let's see. No, so neither of these drivers have made stops. So they're both on fairly worn rubber at this point. But Danny Railton, within half a second now of Formula One look. And he's very early on the brakes there, but a little bit of a moment on oversteer for both drivers, actually. Danny Railton is really working to keep that car under control in these conditions. And yeah, I mean, Danny Railton is going to be using this as a championship reserves session, so he won't be running any of the assists. And I mean, I will say, driving in the full wet conditions at a low grip circuit with no traction control, no ABS, it's a handful.
I can just tell you.
Hold on, Danny Railton is going to have a little look at Formula One look around the outside here at turn 1, and he's got significantly better straight line speed. He's slightly ahead, although Formula One look is later on the brakes. They're side by side through that corner, and Danny Railton, just a little bit of a touch. He's run wide, and he has spun through the exit of turns 1 and 2. So yeah, he's gone off there. And Slimbo Dude, who was a long way back earlier on in the race, has grabbed that position. He's now onto the back of Formula One look as well. We've seen a lot of Slimbo Dudes very quick. He's going to go for a cutback. He's going to get past him straight away here. Just cuts underneath Formula One look, and he is ahead. See who's later on the brakes. Luke is, but is he going to go deep? I think that he will. He's run a long way off the track. He almost held that all the way around the outside there, but Slimbo holds his nerve and maintains that position he just gained.
Yeah, Formula One's got a lot of penalties. That's all I'll say. That is all I'll say.
Yeah, we've seen him running wide, well, many times. So yeah, he's maybe just pushing a little bit too much in these conditions. But this is a very easy track to, you know, to make those little mistakes that end up with time penalties.
Conzo's just put in the fastest lap of the race. He's already 2 seconds ahead of Calzo. So I think Calzo's just struggling a little bit with probably tyre wear and with the wing damage as well.
another
5 second
stop-go
for
penalty. Yeah,
Formula
I mean, this is strange because normally you don't get stop-go penalties for track limits infringements, but we've seen quite a few of them today. Another one.
Another one. It's going to get another one here, isn't he? Oh, no,
I mean,
okay.
if you're saying that he's got a lot of penalties and he's gotten 10 seconds worth in a couple of corners there, Formula One look maybe at risk of a disqualification at this point. I believe that if you get up above, I want to say 35 or 40 seconds of penalties, then that is a possibility. So yeah, I mean, he might be running a bit of a risk here in the final laps.
Well, I'll give you a clue. He's above 25 seconds.
Okay, so he's gonna have to be very careful from here on out not to pick up another one, because otherwise that will be race over for him just in the final laps here. Slimbo Dude starting to extend that gap a little bit, but he's got a huge amount of clean air in front of him until Fletcher Boy in 5th.
Canzo Calzo nicely controlling the pace, and Duran, I think it's now settled for 3rd. Although RDB's only 4.5 seconds behind him.
Yeah, I think that gap is slightly increasing, though. It's just been pulling apart. Yeah, just I think Duran passed RDB, I want to say about maybe 8 or 9 laps to go, and that gap has just been creeping upwards since then. But yeah, I mean, Duran, he was looking earlier on like he might win this race, but he's found himself 25 seconds off of the lead. Perhaps that decision to pit was a pretty critical error.
Formula Luke's just gone very wide coming into the start of sector 3 near the bridge and nearly hit. I think he might have hit the wall. I don't think he took damage. I think it was real long wall.
Oh no, he does have damage.
Oh, does he?
Yeah, he's missing a lot of his end plate on the left-hand side. A lot of pieces of his wing there, and we can see this that Danny Railton now is gaining very, very quickly on him as these two go into the final 2 laps of the race. Formula Luke's had a huge moment out of the final quarter. Danny Railton might gain the position here. He's gaining a lot on this straight, and we saw his straight line speed earlier. Danny Railton was involved, well, he was spun earlier on in an incident with Formula One Luke. So we'll have another go here. Is he going to try and make it around the outside? Yeah, he does go for it around turn 2, and he's gotten the move done just straight through on Formula Luke, who's really struggling with that damage. So Danny Railton grabbing that position that he attempted to get earlier on, although Luke's coming back up the inside at turn 3, is very, very late on the brakes. Is Danny Railton going to be able to hold it? A little bit of contact. Danny Railton is on the inside for the next corner. Is he going to be later on the brakes? Formula Luke, again, he's been extremely late on the brakes today. What a move.
That is a nice move. That is brilliant driving for Formula Luke.
I mean, we've seen this a lot. He's been so late on the brakes compared to the other drivers. Right there, he was a good 10 meters later into what's a fairly short braking zone. So, yeah, that was a phenomenal move from Formula One Luke to take that position back.
And unluckily, he's got about 30 seconds worth of penalties.
Yeah, it does seem like he maybe just be battling for a bit of pride at the moment, but hey, that's definitely worth something. Danny Railton coming back at him though, down towards this heavy braking zone, a very difficult braking zone, and he's not able to get past right now. Just gonna do a quick check on where Conzo is on his lap. He's in the middle sector, so got a little bit of time to watch this battle.
Final lap now. Yeah. Conzo's very comfortable because it's just actually going quickest in sector 1. Well, quicker than his best time already.
Yeah, Conzo, after getting past Calzo, really pulling that gap out very, very quickly. Danny Railton is all over the back of Formula One Luke, and this is going to be really his final opportunity. This is the last lap of the race for these two now. We do know that Luke has penalties, so this might be a little bit for nothing, but Danny Railton is going to want to get past, surely just for pride, if for nothing else, but he's not close enough to Luke. Going into that first braking zone does take a little bit of a cleaner line. He's going to have a better exit. Although, oh no, he's just cut that by a tiny amount.
Conzo's just coming into the last 3 corners now.
Yeah, so we will hop on board with Conzo as he comes around the final corners to win this reserves race. Although Conzo is one of our series drivers, so he won't. I don't think that we'll invite him to the podium. Calzo grabbing P2 with that broken wing, and then we've got M. Doran coming around for P3. I'm going to see if there's a move happening here between Danny Railton and Formula Look. They are very, very close.
You keep an eye on that. I'll just make sure everybody else goes across the line safely.
Yeah, so that's an effective win for M. Doran then, out of the reserve drivers, because both Konzo and Calzo are World Series drivers. So he's at least the first out of the reserve drivers. Great performance from him. Maybe a bit of an error to go for the pit stop.
RDB goes backwards over the line, very classy. RDB, very classy.
Hold on, Danny Railton's going to have a move on. Formula One Look at the final lap here. Oh, a little bit of contact. And Lucas once again later on the brakes. Danny Railton doing a good job not to lose control of the car there. He almost was in the wall, but good job from him to save it. Formula One Look runs very, very wide. Then it goes extremely tight on the inside there. Danny Railton had no idea where that apex was. A little bit of damage, but Formula One Look has lost. Well, they're side by side again. He almost lost position, but now Danny Railton is through, and I think he's. Oh, Formula One goes for a huge dive up the inside, bit of lag as well, and I don't know who's crossed the line first there. They were side by side, incredibly close between the two cars. I think it may have been Danny Railton just, well, maybe an inch or two ahead at the line there, but yeah, I mean, I think that Formula One Look had numerous penalties if what James is telling me is right.
I think you'll find out in a minute.
So yeah, there's the podium with the two Renault drivers. Konzo taking the win here as Nico Hulkenberg, so well done to him. Calzo in P2. And we've got M. Doran in P3. And oh my word, 49 seconds of penalties for Formula One Look. I don't think I've ever seen that many penalties in a race. I genuinely don't think I've seen that many. So
wow.
Congratulations to Formula Look for that. That definitely is some kind of record. He may have lost the position to Danny Railton, but he's got something to cheer about. So final results, we've got two World Series drivers, the front two, Konzo and Calzo, M. Doran, the leading reserve driver. Then we've got RDB, Fletcher Boy, Slimbo Dude recovering well to finish 6th. He was a long way down. Then we've got Danny Railton, who also had a lot of penalties. Formula One Look in 8th, and then Ali Montine, followed by numerous drivers that did not finish. One of those being Temp Fear, but a lot of drivers just showing me the actual Formula One drivers' names. So yeah, we didn't actually have Verstappen and Sainz racing, but lots of DNFs from this race. Quite a few drivers pulling into the pits. Just sort of, well, breaking too many wings and falling too far back, but with numerous crashes as well. Temp Fear being one of those from 3rd place, and he binned in that middle sector. It just shows that, you know, in these wet conditions, that the race is never really over.
So the top 3 reserve drivers got to invite to the podium is M. Doran, RDB, and was it Fletcher Boy?
I want to say yes. Hold on. Let me just double check. Yeah, it would be Fletcher Boy. Although the question is, was RDB racing with his assists on, or was he racing without them? I'm just going to check with him. Because if he was racing with them on, then he technically wouldn't be counting as a reserve driver. So I'm just going to send him a message right now.
I see, because he's on the World Championship reserve list. Okay. Good call on that one.
Yeah, so I'll send him a message, and then we'll know what drivers to invite to the podium interviews. You could probably get M. Doran and Fletcher Boy in here to start off with, and then we'll know who our final driver to invite will be.
Right, let's have a look. Right. Okay.
All right, so RDB has confirmed that he was running ABS. So yeah, we'll give an invite to Slimbo Dude, who would be our 3rd reserve driver there.
No problem. Right. I'm going right. Indoor in 09. Let's have a look. Anyway. So it's M. Doran. So it wasn't RDB, so who was it then? Who do we need to
So we have
invite?
M. Doran, we have Fletcher Boy, and we should have Slimbo Dude as well.
Fletcher Boy and Slimbo Dude. Oops. Fletcher Boy 77. I'm hoping I'm inviting the right people here because I've not got them on my...
Alright, hold on, I'll just do... oh, I can only suggest players. I'll suggest them to you. Okay, sorry about the interruption there. Just making sure that we're getting everybody into the podium interviews. I have had a message from Fletcher. He says, unfortunately, he won't be able to make it to the podium interviews as he's got to go out. So, yeah, unfortunately, he won't be here to answer some questions. But a good race from him, all the same, and congratulations to him.
So I've invited all of them. Let's see who joins. M. Doran did leave straight away, so he might not. He might not be joining as well. Oh, who's joined?
We've got Slimbo Dude in the lobby now, or in the party, I should say.
If the other two don't join, do you want to invite Carlzo and Conzo?
You know what? Yeah, let's go for it.
No worries. Let's do it. See if they join. Let's see if they join us. And if they don't, we'll chat to Slimbo. Oh, there's Calzo.
Good to see. Hopefully his brother shows up as well. I think what we will do is we will go to Slimbo first, as he's the reserve driver that's in here, and then we can probably have a little chat to Calzo and Conzo about their races. Have you sent invites to both of them, James?
I have.
Excellent stuff. Okay, well, unfortunately we weren't able to have M. Doran and Fletcher Boy here on the podium, as they were our first and second reserve drivers at this event. However, we do have the third place driver out of the reserves and sixth overall, Slimbo Dude, here with us. James, do you want to start off with the questions to Slimbo? Just before we get started, I will just remind the drivers in the podium interviews to put their microphones on, allow to be shared.
So if that is done by everybody, oh, hello, woof woof to you too. So Slimbo Dude, how do you think your race went as a whole? How do you think qualifying went? Do you think you could have done any better than your starter position?
Qualifying, I reckon I could have done better. Just not doing as much practice as I could have, and not really hooking the lap together. I could have done better, but no. But at the race, I had an early spin and had to pit for a new front wing, so that set me really far back. And to come through for 6th overall, I'm just really happy.
No, that is a good result. It'd be interesting to know what was your setup going into this? When you saw obviously that it was a dry qual in a wet race, did you intend to go for the wet setup, or did you want to go for as quickly as you can in the qualifying?
I went for a wet setup thinking for the long game. I was running, I think it was 8-7 wings, so I had a fairly, yeah, and so I was thinking of the long game, wanting to have outright pace for the race.
Yeah. And what was it? What did happen at the first corner? Do you know who hit you? Do you know what happened?
No, I think turn 1 I just ran wide. Naturally, I locked up my tyres and just ran wide. So yeah.
No problem, no worries. Well, yeah, it was obviously a good battle between you, Danny Railton, and Formula One Luke right at the end. Some quite impressive overtakes actually going around along turn 4 and into turn 5. So any worries around that point, or did you comfortably get round them? Cause I think Formula One Luke did fend you off a little bit, didn't it, at some stage?
Yeah, like Formula One Luke gave me a right battle. We made a bit of contact, and then he ran wide, so I got the position there. But Danny Railton, he was already spun around, so he was an easy pick in.
Yeah, oh good. Right, so overall, you've obviously said that, but are you happy with where you finished? Do you think you could have done better without that spin? Do you think you could have challenged the Renaults up front?
Hard to say really, but yeah, I'd like to think I could, but without the spin, I don't think I'll get much higher than like 4th.
Fair play. Well, yeah. Well done. It was a good race from all drivers, to be honest, including yourself, and it was a great comeback towards the end, especially with the spin, and to get up to 5th and beat Formula One Luke and Danny Railton. So well done on that side. Well, very well done. Good race. Curly, do you want me to carry on, or do you want to take over and continue with Callum?
I've just got one more question for Slimbo. As far as I understand, the only assist that you run is the racing line, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, just talk us through a little bit about driving in the wet without traction and ABS. I mean, how do you find it? Do you enjoy it? How much more difficult is that compared to running in the dry?
Running in the wet without traction control is difficult. It's really hard to keep the car on the track. So I nearly lost it several times, and I lost it eventually. But I wouldn't say I enjoy it, but I like the challenge.
Oh, that's great to see. And congratulations on your 3rd place today. It was a very good recovery drive from what was a tough position, so well done to you for that. I will hop on to Conzo now. So normally we wouldn't have the series drivers on the podium, but as we were unable to get Doran and Fletcher on the podium this evening, we've invited our 2 first places on track, well, 1st and 2nd place on track, into the podium interviews. So Conzo, the decision not to do a time in qualifying, what was that about?
Decision to not do a time. I just wanted to kind of race other people, just to see what they're like. That's kind of what I always kind of do, especially when you're racing the reserves. So I just didn't set a time. Didn't really. I did think about it, but I didn't do it in the end. So, and then we just started from the back in the race.
Yeah, we saw quite a lot of incidents at turn 1 and. Going forward from there, a lot of sort of chaos off the start. I mean, starting from the very back in those kind of conditions, what was that like?
Well, I did leave myself a couple of seconds onto 2nd last place before I set off, because I knew it was going to be destruction Darwin to turn 3 maybe. So by the time I got there, I mean, the kids, but visibility was quite difficult. But that's from other cars, like. But you just got to take your time and just anticipate anybody could spin at any time, and then you're usually okay.
Yeah, I
it
mean,
was, it was actually
Sorry,
quite a clean start to be fair, wasn't it?
Yeah, it did look okay.
yeah, just lots of cars going sort of 3 wide, and the number of position changes off that sort of opening lap was unbelievable. It was so fast that the actual spectator cam couldn't really keep up. So yeah, there were a couple of incidents with broken wings, but not maybe as many as you would expect in a fully wet start. I'm also getting a very large echo off of someone, by the way.
Oh, okay.
Not exactly sure who that was, but
I think it was Callum.
okay. So, Cons, I want to go on to pit strategy. You decided not to do a pit stop here. I mean, how was your tyre wear? Was it close at the end?
At the end it was quite close, but mine was slightly better than Callum's, so that's why I kind of managed to overtake him and then pulled away a little bit towards the end. But I don't know. I don't know if it'd be faster pitting last 10 laps for another set of wets or not, but we'll have to practice that one just in case.
So what I was going to point out there, Con, was it Callum's lack of tyre wear, or was it his damage? Did he have damage on his front wing?
No, he didn't have any damage at all. His tyre was slightly more than mine, but it's usually the case anyway because it's on a wheel, but it just seems to have better tyre wear.
That's interesting, because me and Alex swore we saw a bit of front wing come off Callum's car.
Oh, no. Sorry to interrupt, right? I think I know what you're on about. Because Brian Malikekic, I did tap the back of him at one corner. He went defensive, and then he went back onto the racing line and braked, and I hit the back of his wing. But I didn't think I had any damage, but I might have had
The slightest of damage.
the slightest of slight.
Yeah, that's strange, because when I was looking at your front wing, it definitely looked as if there were winglets missing on the left-hand side. So maybe that might be an issue with the spectator mode. It wouldn't be the first time we've seen something like that, but yeah,
I mean, we saw that instant with the back of Mali. It wasn't actually the contact with him; it was the contact with PG that we thought was the issue coming into Sector 3. But obviously, if you didn't take any, so basically, what we're trying to say, it wasn't multi-21 towards the end, then, was it?
No, we were going to fight. If I was close enough, we were going to fight.
Yeah, we made a rule that dive bombs are allowed on lap 24 onwards.
Although I had such a good exit on 23, I had to do it.
And to be fair, we all said it was quite aggressive from you, Connor, but it was fair because obviously Callum left you the room. So yeah, it was a good win by yourself, and yeah, good.
Sign of things to come, maybe.
Definitely, hopefully between you two. But yeah, no, well, they're good drive from both of you, especially coming from the back of the grid all the way to the front. Especially in the first couple of laps, I think Callum made up like, I don't know, 12 places in 3 laps. So it was a very good drive from both of you. Yeah. Any more questions for them two, Curly?
I'll hop on to Calzo now and have him talk a little bit about that opening lap, because I think it was, yeah, I mean, I think it was something like 8 positions on the opening lap and then a few more on the next couple laps. I mean, what were your thoughts going into that start?
Trying not to use my front wing at turn 1 because I knew having to brake really late before you off the track. Happens all the time in Russia. So, broke early into turn 1. Someone came by me and absolutely smacked me up the arse. Don't know who it was. After that, a few cars had damage and were going really wide at turn 3, 4. So I just went around the outside then. And then I got up to the back of like 10th Fear, RDB and Formula 1 look, and we were 4 wide going into one corner. I was like, nah, it's just not going to work. So backed out and waited until they all kind of separated a little bit and went for it. But
Yeah, it was definitely definitely a very good start from you there. And just on the battle with Konzo towards the end, um, I mean, do you have a sort of an explanation? I mean, you said that you maybe didn't have wing damage. Do you have a sort of an explanation maybe for the sort of comparative lack of pace there?
I do not know. We were running similar wings. The only thing I can think of is very minor wing damage. He probably has me on pace in the wet, to be fair. I'll admit that.
All right, I will ask one question to the two of you. For the more, this is more aimed at the World Series this season. Obviously, we've got you two at the moment leading the constructors. Calzo leading the Drivers' Championship. I mean, a question to both of you: if it came at one point where, maybe you were both still involved in the championship fight, but another driver was maybe pulling ahead a little bit, would you consider using team orders in that sort of instance?
Well, it just depends on how far it is. To be honest, the championship's just about kind of not DNFing or anything like that for the first 10 races, and in the second half of the season, it's kind of where it all comes down to, really. So yeah, I suppose maybe when it comes down to the second half of the season, if Callum's further ahead of me and I've got a chance to hold up his championship rival, then sure, I'll do a job, like, but we'll just see what happens. Still a long way to go.
Calzo, would you do the same?
Yeah, I would do the same. Like, if me and Colin were on the exact same
pause was
strat,
unconvincing.
It's just about to say a bit of hesitation there.
the pause might be unconvincing, but I would do it. But it has to be under certain circumstances. I'm not just gonna roll over and give him the position for no reason whatsoever. But if he was ahead of me in the Drivers' Championship and his rivals were say in front of me and I was losing time and he just came out of the pits, and I'd let him go. But I'm not one for rolling over.
Fair enough. All right. So, yeah, I mean, I think that's pretty much it in terms of the podium interviews. Unfortunately, we don't have a question of the day this week, so you're safe from that one. James, do you have anything that you would like to say before we wrap things up here?
No, that's all from me, I'm afraid. Yeah, that's all.
All right. Okay. So that was round 4 of the reserves event, with a little bit of a cameo from Konzo and Calzo in the podiums. Just want to say thank you very much for watching. If you want to get involved with Front Row Racing, then you can find us on Facebook at Front Row Racing. Send a message to the page and you'll be sorted out. Get yourselves involved. This would be where you start out in the reserves event. If you're looking to watch more of this, next week we have on Wednesday we have the World Championship round 4 here in Russia, and then on Thursday we'll have the World Series also in Russia. Both of those races starting at 7:30. Konzo and Calzo will be taking place on that race on Thursday. So thank you very much for tuning in, and yeah, good night from Front Row Racing.